Hold on tight, because this is not gossip. This is not whispers from the tabloids. This is Buckingham Palace itself, the very heart of the monarchy, breaking its silence after years of looking the other way. For so long, people wondered about Meghan and Harry's children, Archie and Lilibet. Were they truly royal heirs? Why did the palace stay so quiet? Why did the children never appear before the public in the same way that William and Kate's children did? Rumors swirled, questions piled up, but the palace never spoke. Until now. Sources close to the palace have confirmed that the papers have already been prepared. These are not temporary notes or early warnings. These are final orders that will permanently change the status of Archie and Lilibet. The message is brutal but simple. Their claim to royal identity is gone. This isn't a family argument. It isn't about who likes who. It's about protocol, about the monarchy's oldest rulebook. And to understand why the crown made this move, we have to travel back more than 100 years to a king who set those rules in stone. Don't forget to subscribe to Royal Report Daily for more exclusive coverage. The year was 1917. Europe was at war. The monarchy faced enormous pressure to protect its bloodline from confusion, outside threats, and political danger. King George V stepped forward and issued a declaration known as the Letters Patent. These were not emotional words. They were not passionate speeches. They were dry, precise lines of law, but inside those lines were rules that would shape the monarchy for more than a century. The Letters Patent laid out exactly who had the right to call themselves a prince or princess. The requirements were strict and clear. First, the child had to be of legitimate royal bloodline. Second, the child's birth had to be officially recognized and recorded by the crown itself. Third, the child had to be formally connected to the Church of England. No shortcuts, no exceptions. For generations, these rules protected the monarchy. They made sure royal titles were not handed out like party favors. They kept the bloodline clear and the hierarchy secure. And here lies the problem. When the crown looked at Archie and Lilibet, it saw two children who, through absolutely no fault of their own, did not tick every single box. Their births, their records, and even their ties to the church left cracks that simply could not be ignored. Which is why, from the very moment they were born, the clock was already ticking. The royal machinery was quietly waiting for the day it would finally move. Stay tuned to Royal Report Daily. We bring you the truth. That day began in 2019 with the birth of baby Archie. At first, everything seemed to follow the expected script. Joyful announcements, public smiles, a healthy new child welcomed into the world. But then something strange happened, something buried deep inside the paperwork. On Archie's birth certificate, Meghan was listed by her full legal name, Rachel Meghan Markle. That was completely normal and correct. But then suddenly, without any public explanation, the document was changed. Her name was removed and replaced with her royal title, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. Who does that? Birth certificates are not fashion statements. They are legal records permanently locked into history. Yet here was one being quietly rewritten as though it were a press release. Meghan claimed that the palace forced the change without her knowledge. Palace staff denied it firmly. Both sides pointed fingers. Neither backed down. And in that tug of war, a dangerous question was born. Was this about appearances? Or was it about deliberately positioning Archie within the royal legal record? Because one thing became absolutely clear. This child's entry into history was no longer smooth or straightforward. It was messy, contested, and surrounded by growing doubt. And once doubt enters an official record, the foundation beneath it begins to crack. Remember to subscribe to Royal Report Daily for updates like this one. By the time Meghan and Harry welcomed their second child in 2021, the palace had already learned something powerful. Silence was louder than any words. When Lilibet Diana was born, the announcement did not come from Buckingham Palace. It did not arrive with the sound of royal trumpets, proud attending doctors, or carefully prepared photographs of the new baby wrapped for the official archives. Instead, it came from across the ocean, a cheerful, polished press release issued from sunny California. For centuries, royal births were far more than private family milestones. They were events written into the history books, carefully documented, officially witnessed, and precisely recorded. The baby was never simply a child. They were a living symbol of continuity, proof that the monarchy was carrying on. Every single detail was preserved, from the hospital announcement to the ink signatures of the attending royal doctors. But with Lilibet, nothing. No royal presence, no ceremonial stamp, no acknowledgement whatsoever from the palace. It was as though the monarchy had quietly turned its back. For those watching closely, it felt completely unprecedented, like a curtain gently falling, sending a clear signal that this baby's birth, though warmly celebrated in California, was not being claimed by the crown. Royal Report Daily, bringing you the stories others won't tell. If the birth raised eyebrows, what came next raised genuine alarms. Months later, Meghan proudly announced that Lilibet had been baptized in California. She spoke warmly about the ceremony, the photos, and the deep joy of the moment. But behind palace walls, quiet whispers immediately began. Because while Meghan's team considered the baptism fully official and meaningful, the Church of England did not. And in the world of the monarchy, that distinction matters far more than most people realize. A royal christening is not simply about sprinkling holy water and taking family portraits. It is about connection. It ties the child permanently to the church, to the crown, and to centuries of unbroken royal tradition. It is a formal seal, one that officially writes the baby into the record as part of Britain's royal history. But palace sources claim that Lilibet's baptism was never formally registered with the Church of England, which meant that, in the eyes of royal protocol, it was invalid, a ceremony without official recognition. And so instead of strengthening her place within the royal family, it weakened it. Instead of cementing her bond with the institution, it broke it. The palace reportedly viewed the California christening not as a sacred family moment, but as a breach of protocol, a ritual that in royal law simply did not count, which left Lilibet in a deeply dangerous position, celebrated by her parents, but completely unrecognized by the system she was born into. Subscribe to Royal Report Daily and stay informed. For Meghan, these cracks were never just about paperwork or church records. They cut right to the very heart of her identity. From the moment she stepped into the royal world, her entire public image was built on one foundation. She wasn't just Meghan Markle. She was Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, a royal mother. And her children weren't simply kids, they were heirs. Heirs 2 centuries of history. That identity powered everything. The Netflix specials, the Spotify deals, the memoir, the carefully curated public image, even her lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard. She was not just selling jam jars and garden photographs. She was selling a life that had been touched by royalty. But that special shine only worked if her children carried the royal connection. Without it, the entire foundation crumbles. No royal heirs means no royal mother, just a Hollywood couple desperately trying to hold on to a crown that no longer wanted them. And behind the soft portraits, the polished branding, and the carefully managed public persona, Meghan faced a fear she could not hide. Without royal bloodlines to pass on, what truly made her different from every other celebrity living in California? Don't miss our next report. Subscribe to Royal Report Daily now. For Meghan, the cracks in protocol threatened her brand. But for Harry, this was something deeply personal. This was blood. Sources close to the palace whisper about late nights when Harry would pick up the phone and call back to the very family he had walked away from. His voice wasn't calm. It wasn't polished. It was emotional and desperate. He begged them to reconsider. He begged for his children's future to be written permanently into the royal record. Those who know Harry say he genuinely believed he could live as both the son who stepped away and the father of children who remained fully royal. He thought stepping back from his royal duties would never erase his children's place in the bloodline. He believed Archie and Lilibet would still carry the Windsor name forward, no matter how far California felt from the streets of London. But every time he tried to explain himself, every time he tried to build his case, the response he received was ice cold. One palace aide reportedly reduced all of his pleading to a single sentence. This is not about emotion. This is about order, lineage, and the future of the crown. For Harry, it was like watching the floor disappear from under his feet. He wasn't just estranged from his father and brother anymore. He was now a prince whose own children were being quietly erased from the very institution that had given him his entire sense of identity. Royal Report Daily, your source for the truth behind the headlines. And then came the move itself. Archie and Lilibet would lose everything.